Hi there. Welcome to Draw With Me. I'm Danny Gregory, and it is Thursday, and it's time to do some drawing together. Now, first of all, what about that extraordinary cavalcade of Mona Lisas? I think it's the most Draw With Me submissions that we've found so far, over 100 of them. I was just so impressed by the incredible variety of styles and wit and interpretation. It was so great because what we talked about was, let's not try and do a perfect reproduction of the Mona Lisa, but let's make it our own. And everybody really did that, and it's fantastic to see. So thank you for joining me today. I am not in my usual place, which is in Phoenix in the studio, but instead I'm here in a remote cabin in the woods, and so my whole tech configuration is a bit different, and let's just hope that everything, we've had electrical outages, we've had internet outages, we've had various calamities, but hopefully we will be safe and secure today, which is of course 14 Juillet, the 14th of July, Bastille Day. It's the best of times. It was the worst of times. The French Revolution. So that is what we are going to be thinking about today and drawing about today. Now, I think a lot of people came to the Mona Lisa assignment and said, no way. How am I supposed to draw the Mona Lisa? And as you saw, it was totally doable. So today is going to be a different kind of a challenge. I don't think it's going to be... in some ways, I think it'll be easier because we're going to be drawing something that's a little less familiar. We're going to be drawing the last king of France, which is Louis XVI, who in the end lost his head, not on the 14th of July, but sometime thereafter, when the people decided, you know what, we're done with you. And there was a lot of nefarious behavior, which resulted in Louis getting the guillotine. So we're going to be, I don't know, celebrating, commemorating, honoring him. None of that seems appropriate, but we're going to be drawing him. Let's put it that way. He wasn't the last. Well, I don't think it was. I mean, I guess if you call Napoleon and Napoleon the other ones, he wasn't the last. I don't know. I don't know that much about history or French history or kings or anything. But please correct me. Please educate me. I'd love to know more. So, yes, some of you didn't post your Mona Lisas. It's not too late. It's not too late to share your work with the world. And if you missed the beginning of this show, I would recommend you go back and watch it again, and so you can catch all those. They went by so quickly, as well, which is part of the fun, but also, you know, I didn't want to slight anybody, but I think that they all deserve study because there are just so many interesting and funny interpretations. There was a fox, there was Frida, there was self-portraits. There were just so many different versions of that about it. So it was fantastic. Henny, welcome. No, Louis the 18th, really? Who was the guy who got his head cut off? Wasn't that Louis the 16th? Well, that's who we're drawing today. Maybe I got it totally wrong. You know, what the hell? Today, because it's the 14th of July, we're going to draw Louis the 16th. You know, JJ, you were, didn't you major in French history? Anyway, whatever it is, we're drawing him, and we'll figure it out later on. It's not a photo, so you can just claim that he's whoever you want him to be. He has a great face and this sort of personality to him, so I thought he would be fun to look at. Well. And JJ, did you notice Paula Schmeidel's icon? It's a little pug. Yes, our little pug is here in attendance too, celebrating the 14th of July. But let's move on to other things. So today, as you know, is sponsored. Draw With Me is sponsored by Hahnemühle, which makes fantastic paper. And today we are focusing particularly on their watercolor paper. And we're going to be drawing and watercoloring, or at least I am, on this really great 300-gram watercolor paper. And I'm going to be using hot press because that's what I like. I like the hot press. If you don't know the difference between hot press and cold press paper, hot press is watercolor paper that's smooth, whereas cold press has more of a texture. And then there's also rough, which is even rougher. But today we are going to be giving away, I'm not sure how many it is. Does anybody out there know? JJ or Naomi, do you know how many we're giving away? We're giving away some watercolor pads, and they are not the cold press, hot press I'm using. They're cold press, but they're from Hahnemühle. It's fantastic watercolor paper. And if you would like it, all you have to do, it was Louis the 16th. Okay. Janzi Wesenberg King, who is clearly royalty and should know these things, is saying that it was definitely Louis the 16th. Yeah, I thought so too. Whatever happened with this? Anyway, so yeah, that is the story, and I'm sticking to it. So anyway, sorry, let me just fix that, and there we go. So, Hahnemühle paper, yes. So if you would like to be randomly selected for us to send you this beautiful and rather pricey, high-quality paper, write to us at info@sketchbookschool.com. Do two things, which I haven't put up here, but which I should have. One is you must send us your mailing address, and it has to be in the United States. Do not send us just an email. If you don't send us your mailing address, where are we going to mail it to you? We can't email you this paper. It's 300 grams. What else? Tell us why do you want this paper? What do you like about the idea of getting it? And we will select randomly from among those responses that we think are worthy or not. It's random, so whatever. We are also sponsored by Winsor Newton. And Winsor Newton, this is the only time they're ever doing this. They're giving away this set of gouache. These are designer gouache paints. It's a set of 8. This is like, what does it cost? It's like $50. They're reasonably pricey, but they're superlative. They're fantastic gouache. If you've used sort of inexpensive gouache, well, you'll see the difference. When you use good gouache, it's creamy, it's opaque, colors are awesome. It's great. So yeah. So we're going to be giving a set away of that, and also write to us similarly if you'd like those, and tell us, what your perspective is on it. And that's it. Those are our sponsors for today, and those are actually the materials I'm going to be using. So, all right, let's move on to other things. Let's have a look at Louis, shall we? Here's Louis. Here's yesterday I was just thinking about this, and I thought I'm going to try it out beforehand. You know why? Because I don't know. I haven't really used this gouache that much, and I'm not that familiar with it. And I also just wanted to have some fun with it. So I did this little one. I did a few. I did this little one, and one of the things I was wrestling with, honestly, was skin tone, and so I mixed a whole bunch of skin tones. What I also did with this one is I painted the background first. That's one of the nice things about gouache. So if you don't know about gouache, gouache is opaque watercolor. So you can paint a layer, and then you can paint another layer on top of it, and it covers over the bottom one. So, yes, that's the case here. So I painted this blue background, then I painted him on top. Yeah, it's not a great painting, but it was just a quick sketch. Then I did this sort of different version of him, which is a bit more, I don't know. What can one say about this guy? just trying to capture his spirit, you know, and thinking about how sort of arrogant he was and how ultimately he lost his head because of it. And here again, I'm trying to do this stuff with the tones, and here over here I was, again, doing opaque color on top of color, just experimenting with this stuff, trying it out. Here also doing some hatching on top, different stuff. And then I did this guy who was sort of more genteel, perhaps. And I also added this little thing, cut here. So. All right. Sorry, I just had to check that all was good in streaming land. But JJ says, what? Pardon me? When did I freeze?
I don't know that you did. What were you asking me?
I was just asking if you could see and hear me, but you can, clearly, so good.
Are you not getting comments?
No, I'm not getting comments, but that's okay.
Okay, this is the internet.
This is the internet. This is what it's like working in the wild woods. So, yes, so here we have the paper, Hahnemühle 300-gram, 140-pounder, and here's how I'm going to approach this. I'm just going to start by just drawing the shape of his head. And I put some colors down here. I've got a couple of yellows. I've got ochre, a couple of reds, white, which I use so much of this white. And this is ultramarine, right? So it's ultramarine, spectrum red, primary red, permanent yellow deep, and ochre, and primary yellow. I don't know. You're probably not painting with gouache along with me, but if you were, that's almost ruin this piece of paper and try and do that. Yeah, I'm painting on this plate from the cupboard of the cabin, so I don't know. So here, I'm just going to start by just whacking out this kind of general shape of his head. Mix some pink here, and the thing I like about gouache, it's nice and creamy compared with watercolor, which I use so often. This stuff is just juicy, and yeah. So I can start with just a very kind of rough shape of him, and then maybe I'll just take some kind of reddish. You see, I'm going to, again, unlike watercolor, I can be pretty, you know, I can commit. I can commit to something and then I can change my mind. So, I like that. And then I can sort of, it's really more like if you've painted with acrylic, it's more that kind of an experience, I think. But I'll be honest, I don't pretend to be expert, so you might see some disastrous things going on here today, which is fine. You might be saying to yourself, well, this looks like a disaster already, but that's, again, one of the things about gouache is it's pretty forgiving. It's pretty forgiving, and we can move along fairly quickly. So you get to see my arm quite a lot. So here I'm just sort of able to just lay some other tone on top here and just kind of and I'm going to keep building this up. I'm going to keep building it up. So even if you think it's kind of looks like a mess right now, wait till you see the mess I'm going to be making. It's going to be awesome. I have several buckets of water all around here. And I've put my cup, my beverage cup, at a distance because I don't want to do the usual thing of just dunking into it, which I've done too often, too embarrassingly often. But yeah, so you can see it really feels more painterly at some point. But but what I am gonna do is ultimately I'm gonna be drawing. So I'm just kind of putting this down as more of a base coat, if you want. You might wonder, why am I even bothering to paint white at this point? And that's a very good question, because I'm not quite sure either. But, no, I'm putting down white because I want this. It has to have
His hair is white.
His hair is white, but it's on a white background. But it's going to be later on. I'm going to introduce a background later on. There's also this kind of shape back here. You can see is it like a ponytail? I'm not sure what that is. Is it a pillow? Like, is it possible that he has like a white wig on top of long hair with a ponytail? I don't know. But maybe I'll pretend that he does. So yeah. And then, so here's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to take, I'm using the Vidal Sassoon 1875, which is inappropriate because we're talking about the French Revolution, which was, 1789, wasn't it? So anyway, this is a later hairdryer. This is not a revolutionary hairdryer, but I'm going to mute this temporarily because this hairdryer is going to be loud. Okay, so it's pretty quick. It's actually, gouache is faster than watercolor. It's less watery. So okay, so now I'm going to actually commit to something, which is I'm going to actually do a drawing and sort of see how this goes. So I'm drawing with ink in a brush. Trying to see over this camera. Slightly piggy nose he has. I don't know that he deserved to get his head cut off, but this guy does look very self-assured. And he was apparently like a really incompetent king. Married, of course, to Marie Antoinette. Let them eat cake fame. She was also decapitated. I think like a few months after he was. It's the smile, too, this sort of smug, supercilious smile that he has. Sort of well-fed, double chin. So yeah, so I'm, as you can see, I'm drawing right on the paint. This ink is waterproof, so it's not a problem painting on top of it, I hope. If your ink is not waterproof, of course, and then you start painting on top of it, it's going to melt your ink, and your ink is going to mix with your paint, and that's going to be a mess. So. All right, so we're going to, as I said, we're going to go in, we're going to continue to build this thing up. This is just very much of a kind of a base layer of both of drawing and of painting, because we can go in, we can add a lot more detail as we go. I'm glad that I wasn't incorrect about Louis XVI. I've always thought it was Louis XVI, and when people say no, there was other Louis, and I don't know. If you guys straighten this out amongst yourselves, was I absolutely wrong, or was I basically right that he's Louis XVI, the guy who got his head cut off, and he was the last king of France, and there were the Bonapartes, Louis Napoleon, and so forth, but those were pretenders, I think. They weren't true kings. I don't know. I'm not going to take sides in this ancient debate. Is it even a debate, or is it just me showing off my mediocre education yet again? I just like drawing this guy. I think he just has a face you kind of want to smack a little bit, right? All right, so now to me the fun part begins, which is to take this kind of base of operations and to start to add more stuff to it. And this is also the fun part of gouache, is you can paint, you can screw it up, you can fix it, and it's all cool. So his forehead is much lighter, and this is the bridge of his nose here. And says this part of, and you see, I'm not concerned. You see how it's covering over the ink? Not a problem, because we can go back in later on and we can just redo it. We can do it over and over and over again if we want to. So you don't have to be hesitant. You can be bold, and you can screw up. Two of my favorite things is to be confidently wrong and then change your mind. Fix it. It's not the end of the world. It's just a painting. It's just a masterpiece in the making. And you also notice new things as you go along, and so you might say, okay, I want to go back in and, add this bit, or you might say, you know what, I don't really like what I did, and so I want to add some new features to enhance it. You can also do this hatching thing is kind of cool. I sort of like it. Do some of this little hatching. That's the thing, is you can do sort of blending, and then you can do hatching as well. So you can blend colors into each other, or you can overlay them like you would with ink. Or even watercolor, you can't really do that sort of thing. So that's why I like it. A lot of illustrators use gouache. You see it less in like fine art, I guess, because I don't know why. I'm not sure what its archival qualities are. I imagine that when you get a decent gouache like this one, it lasts, but maybe not. I don't know. So I'm going to mix in a little blue. Mix in a little blue and create more of a shadow. Certain areas that I want to have be a bit darker, like under here. Sort of jowl there. And I'm going to add in some shadows where there aren't necessarily any in the original, but just want to give it a bit more dimension. It's interesting doing this with the comment's not working, so I really can't tell what you guys are talking about. I have to look at it later on. So I'm just kind of working all by myself, which is fine too. Color mixing is an adventure, particularly when you have no idea what you're doing, because you have no idea what you're doing, and you can do something, and suddenly it goes off the rails in the wrong direction. But again, it's all fixable, because what you do is you go out on the internet and you find somebody who really knows what they're doing to fix it for you. You say, hey, I'm going to send you a really bad painting. Would you just fix it up and send it back to me? Thanks. The check's in the mail. I do that all the time. That's, there's a lot of people on YouTube who, have giant teams working in the studio with them to fix their mistakes, but not me. I like to send it out. But I certainly make enough mistakes that I could have a full-time team. But I'm not big enough yet, and maybe the mistakes I'm making are not sufficient for that kind of investment. But yeah, that's the secret of great artists, is the guys behind the scenes who fix it all. This is getting worse and worse. What have I done? There you go, fixed, kind of. I saw a comment, I think it was on my Mona Lisa demo last week. Somebody put a comment on YouTube and they said, is this supposed to be a joke? This is awful. I was like, yeah, I totally know what you mean. But, it's bad art is, look, there's a lot more bad art being made than good art. So what does that prove? It proves that it's perfectly legitimate thing to do. I mean, if it was wrong, then so many people wouldn't be doing it. But I don't know. I kind of like this guy. I think he's got some charm. But really, the key to this sort of thing is the final steps. So you'll see in the last minutes of this operation, things will come together and you'll say, oh, he pulled it off. Or you might have logged out and gone to look at something else by then. We'll see. So you see how his he looks like he's either been dead for two or 300 years, which he has, or had a severe beating, which he deserved. So these red lips, very juicy, very kissable. Oh, Louis, I love your Cupid's bow lips. Was it really his fault that he was sort of an arrogant jerk? I don't know. Have you ever watched the TV show The Great, about Catherine the Great? And her husband, the Tsar, is a fantastic and incredibly likable character who is just as awful as can be. So, sometimes we like scoundrels. We admire them. A rakish scoundrel. You see now this white is starting to come together. All right, that is something. There's no denying that. This is something. Maybe it calls for a different brush. That's what it is. It's all the fault of the brush. But look at that. See, that is really nice. To be able to just take a little brush and some yellow and put it on top of this red and have it be okay, have it not. I mean, if you did that with a transparent medium, it would not be as nice. And if you did it with acrylic, that's what you might be thinking to yourself, why not use acrylic? Well, first of all, you couldn't rework it like this, but also acrylic on paper, not so nice. Not so nice. It has a plasticky kind of a feeling to it that if you try it, I think you'll agree with me that it's not designed for that. Acrylic is great on canvas or on board, but it's really not. It's not really a paper medium. Again, I could be wrong. I am not an expert in much. All right, this is. I'm quite liking this. I don't know. I'm quite liking this. And in the end, that's all I really care about. I don't care what you think. Because it has, I don't know, it has a cheekiness to it that I quite like. So, what I also want to do is I want to, I have all this pink here. Who was some of you may have seen, what was his name? William Alexander, I think it was. He was Bob Ross's mentor, actually. And he used to do this thing where he cleaned his brushes by whacking it on the legs of the easel every time. Whack, whack, whack. That was just the way he cleaned it. And I can see that that's very satisfying because I'm trying to clean this big, ugly mess of pink paint off this brush now because I want to use this little brush. Unless, you know what, to hell with it, I have no brushes. The one thing I have plenty of is brushes. And I'm just going to use another big brush. just going to use another brush. And so here's the thing, if you are used to painting with watercolor and you start painting with gouache, you will find yourself tending to put an awful lot of water on your brush. And you see, this is what happens when you use gouache with a lot of water, is it becomes watercolor essentially. It loses its, to coin a term, gouachean characteristics, its opacity. So try to avoid that, because really, while gouache is great at what it does, it's not watercolor. And it isn't really that good at being watercolor. It's okay, but it's not, that's not its best suit. And you're also losing kind of the whole point of gouache, which is the opacity. So if you've ever used gouache and you said, nah, you know, really didn't hold up well, there could be two reasons. One is you, as I said, were over diluting it. And you can, I mean, we can also lay, this is still feeling too diluted. But that's okay, because I have more paint where that came from. And I actually want to put down another color anyway. So that's one reason. And the other reason might be that you're just using crappy gouache. There is gouache out there that's crappy. It knows that it's not good. Or sometimes it doesn't. It just thinks it's cheerfully goes along saying, you know what, I'm gouache, and gouache is gouache. I'm cool. I'm not going to put myself down. I am what I am. And I certainly applaud that spirit. However, bad gouache is kind of a step away from tempera, the tempera that you used when you were in second grade. It came in those big bottles. You can try tempera, and you'll see what is different about it. Sometimes, you know, sometimes you want to eat a really good steak, and sometimes you want to use tempera. I think, and I mean, I often have used tempera, honestly, because it is fun to use really cheap materials. You know, it is fun. But when you have better materials, you just have more control, and you don't have to deal as much with the limitations that you get. There's invariably limitations with second-rate materials. They just don't go on as, they don't feel as nice and creamy. They're not, the colors are not as accurate. There's just a whole bunch of things that happen, which we'll talk about some other time, because I'm not, again, necessarily an expert. But we have people like my friend David Pyle who are, and they can give you all the technical reasons why different materials operate differently. So, right, well, that's getting somewhere. And now I have lots of containers of dirty paint water. Okay, so now what I can do is I can grab the ye old brush pen again. And you say, oh my God, look, you're saying, oh my God, look at how much better it looks now. He actually did know what he was talking about. Or you might be saying, yeah. Or you might be saying, you know what, I'm not really looking at what you're doing. I'm just doing my own drawing, so whatever. And that's what I hope you're saying. Because it's called Draw With Me, not, hey, watch me draw. But you can just watch me draw if you want. I don't care. You do you. Okay, so here's one more way in which gouache is great. Gouache, darn it, it's great. Watch this. So I find that the curve of his jowl here is a little insulting. So I'm gonna tighten up his jawline a bit. I think this is a common thing that was done by classical painters because, you didn't want to have your own head cut off because the king was like, wait a minute, I'm not that fat. I mean, look, this painting, look at how fat he is. I guess it was also in the days when being fat was good. Showed that you were well fed, successful. But, I'm going to give him more of a modern look where you say, you know what, it's not acceptable. Lou, it's not acceptable to be a fat bastard. So there, I've slimmed him down. I took 20 pounds and 10 years off you, Louie. All right. I think you're good to go. I think you're good to go. I think you look awesome. And what about this thing back here? Do we want to put it in? This kind of shape? Whatever it is. I'll put it in sort of gently. So now when I'm just going to hit the hairdryer for one more second. Excuse me. Fabulous. You look marvelous, sir. Although now I have to fix your chin here. I have to fix this. Because I slenderized you there. It's like being a plastic surgeon, really, if you think about it. Just a little nip and tuck. So I have to fix this little part of his jacket there just so that it doesn't seem. That was lazy. You see what I just did? I just kind of colored it in with ink. Because I was like, to hell with it. Can't be bothered to. But now I'm going to draw this line in. Oops, it got a little bit shimmery there. And it's endless. You can go back and forth correcting. I do think I want to focus that. And maybe this a bit too. What do you think? Oh, you know what I'm not liking is the ball of his nose. See, okay, this is one of these moments. I'm sure you've had them where you're like, okay, let me just do this one little thing. Let me just pull this one little thread, and suddenly, what did I just do? You're saying, don't worry. See, his nose has this little ball to it, and I just wanted to emphasize it a little bit. It gives it a bit more personality. And it's also sort of has that kind of gentility to it, but also in the original, his nose is sort of stuck up a bit. I want to kind of capture that imperious sort of, do I smell peasant? Yeah. Okay, that helped a bit. And then a little bit more of a little rouge. Oh, and I know what I wanted to do also. It's a little bit of red along the eye. It's called What is that thing called? Don't bother me with technical mumbo jumbo. There we go. And yes. All right, not bad. Not bad. It's one of these things you could just keep tweaking and doing stuff to. Yeah, his is kind of bigger eyes the way I made him, but mine actually is more historically accurate. If in fact he is Louis the 16th, the last king. If in fact that's who he is. I'm still waiting. Unfortunately, I'm not seeing any of the comments, so I'm not sure if any of you verified my historical assumptions or not. But anyway, all right. So there's that one. Yeah. What do you think compared to this guy? Different, right? Each one different. 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 Yeah. And you know what I didn't tell you? The one that we've been painting from, I actually painted that. Yeah, I did. I didn't want to make you look bad. I didn't want you to be like, oh my God, look at that. I thought you would say, oh, well, it's a piece of historical reference. It's fine. But actually, no, I painted that. I actually painted it. So, I'm lying. I didn't. I painted, as you can see, I painted this other bunch of stuff. So, good. That was fun. And I'm telling you, do it multiple times. There's a lot, for some reason, it's really fun. A lot of stuff to come out of this guy's face. I look forward to seeing whatever you've done with it. So, let's move on. Where are we? We are here. Yes. We are here. So we're at the part of the show where I tell you that I want to see what you made. I really do. This is one of the bad things about being up here is I don't have my sketchbook school mug. I have this gray wolf mug instead. Seems more appropriate to the place. But anyway, so I want you to share what you've done. I don't want you to come next week and go, oh, I forgot to share my Louis the 16th. Share it. Take a picture of it, put it on Instagram, put it on Facebook, put it in the schoolyard if you're a member of the schoolyard at Sketchbook School, and put the tag, hashtag SBS Draw With Me. Put it on there so we can find it, and we will add it to the collection. So please do that. Also, I hope that you'll subscribe to my essays, Danny'sEssays.com. I am putting one out tomorrow. I do it every Friday. And if you do, I'll send you this little book that I wrote, Never Feel Guilty About Making Art and Other Essays. Free. All of this is free. Free, free, as free as Louis XVI's soul is as it rises above the smoke of Paris, clutching his head under his arm. That has nothing to do with it. There's no cost. There's no cost. It's free. And also subscribe to this channel. There's no cost for that too. And don't forget to write in to, I'm going to go back to that thing. Go back to this. Don't forget to write if you'd like the Hahnemühle watercolor pad, info@sketchbookskool.com, or alternatively, the gouache. You want to check it out yourself and see how you are at mastering this beautiful medium. info@sketchbookskool.com. Write to us. Tell us. And we'd love to know. All right. So thanks again for joining me. Thanks for drawing with me. It was really nice. Now, we're going back to Phoenix for the weekend because it is my niece's wedding party. My niece eloped to Las Vegas, but now we're having a party for her. I know. She eloped. I don't know if there was an Elvis involved. There wasn't. I don't think there was an Elvis involved. But she did elope to Las Vegas, and she's great. She's a biology teacher in Austin, and she and my nephews come from Boston, not Boston, Austin and Boston. They are both. My nephew is in the what's it called, the Coast Guard. He's in the Coast Guard. Anyway, so we're all going to gather, and we're going to be in Phoenix, where incidentally it is on. That's what I said. The Coast Guard. Yeah. It is 114 in Phoenix right now. Right here in where we are, it's 84. So we are willing to make sacrifices for our family, as you can tell. And we add 30 degrees of commitment to our family. And then we'll be back here on Monday to enjoy the pines once more. Thanks very much for being here and for drawing with me. I can't wait to see your Louis. And I'll see you then next Thursday. Bye-bye.